Sicily, normally bridge collapsed looks the dew blow from the narrow fields and when green groups are now fast asleep through the mud and the water. Environmental warning in addition to human casualties, entire ecosystem have been temporarily destroyed. In the city of Noto, residents placed candles and the steps of historic cathedral in memory of the victims. Local presses helped open air masses in a flooded courtyard, calling the stretch and the unity. One of the Syrians, Lucia Manso, said, "We lost our beginnings, but not each other. The most important things." Meanwhile, the Italian army remained the standby with more than 400 soldiers destroyed across the isolated to clear debris, reinforce river banks to deliver aid to remote vigilantes. The EU has also experienced its support. A team from the US Civil Protection Mechanism has been sent to coordinate with the Italian authority, increasing the livelihood of international funding to support long-term recovery. Scientists emphasize this is only a hybrid of may become normal. Southern Europe is especially by the Mediterranean basin is becoming increasingly vulnerable to extreme weather events and the climate change accelerators. A powerful storm hit Sicily. Italy caused severe weather conditions that resulted in widespread destruction across the island. The storm, characterized by heavy rain, gale-force winds, led to widespread flooding, power outage, and extensive damage to infrastructure. Local authorities report that the crises of Catania and Palermo have been hit by hardest hit. In Catania, streets turned into rivers, and water level rose in 3 ruined herds. The historic city center, which usually turned to tourists, is now eerily quiet. Emergency service tried to cope with the field. Video shared on social media showed cars submerged and residents walking throughout the waist-deep water. The meteorological service has recorded widespread up to 100 km/h, which further agriculture to situation. Trees have been uprooted, roofs have been ripped off buildings, and debris is scattered to roadway, making the travel dangerous. The regional government has issued a red alert, urged residents to stay home and avoid unnecessary travel. In Palermo, the storm led to similar extent to chaos. In local airport was temporarily closed due to flooding of runway, leading to flight cancellation and delays. Sicily, Italy's largest island, has been hit one of the strongest storms in the recent times. One of the night of June 27, several weather warnings brought more than 180 mm of rainfall in just 20 hours, more than the region usually received in entire month. This was hit area where Palermo, Catania, Anginda, and Messina were the hardest hit. Authorities confirmed that at least 3 people died as a result of the flooding electrocutions. Among the victims was a 45-year-old man from the town of Piazza, who was trapped in this car where sudden flooding inundated in low light unprecedented.
I'd say so, Bob. This is a big storm. Hail, heavy rain.
Risponde le segreterie telefonica di 34.
The human toll of storm is still being issued. At least 3 deaths have been confirmed so far, including the elderly man who drowned in flooding basement in Messina and young delivery driver who was swept away by flood waters in Catania. Dozens of people have been injured, many of them due to falling debris and traffic incidents on the road middle-side pillar of rain. Sicilian Governor Renata Citrelli visited the flooded areas on Tuesday, calling that the match helicopters and promised long-term support. "We will not abandon our people. The recovery will best with incomplete, we promised during the press conference. Local volunteers arrived the affected areas, diverted fluid and helping to clear debris. Social media is now filled not only image and destructive but also of solidarity. Neighbors stretch offering shoulders and young groups organized donated drivers. School in several provinces remain closed to damage assessment continue. Psychologists have been sent to provide assistance to children and families affected by trauma, especially in the hardest hit community of Gela and Lizita. The storm, which has intensified in terrain and sea over the past few hours, has taken a character that a full-fledged cyclone. Winds around the ridge and sometimes exceeded gusts of 100 km/h at the sea was through. In the coming days, severe storm with wake up to 5 to 6 meter high and peaks up to 8 meters are expected in the low Tyrrhenian Sea between the southwestern provinces of Campania, especially Cilento and Calabria, as well over most of Sicily and the Ionian Sea and the entire Adriatic. Tomorrow they shift the low-pressure system towards the Adriatic with a mainly effect to eastern basins. So let's take a look at the details.
Non ci credo. Oddio. Qua. La moto. La macchina.
Large part of Sicily have been left obliterated after a powerful storm system swept across the island, triggering flash floods, violent winds and scene of chaos in several cities and rural communities. The extreme weather arrived swiftly, catched many residents of Goa during that began as one of the ordinary day. In Palermo, Catania and smaller town island, intense rainfall overwhelmed drainage system within minutes. Streets turned into rivers, submerged cars and forced drivers to abandon vehicles. Emergency service reported multiple rescue as people began trapped inside the homes, shops and underground garages. Strong winds uprooted trees, damaged roofs and brought down power lines, leaving thousands without electricity. In some areas, mobile phone networks were temporarily disrupted, complicating rescue efforts. Schools and public buildings were closed as a precaution. Along Sicily coastline, storm driver ways flooded promenades and the harbor, damaging fishing boats and small waste. Palermo, the vibrant capital of the city, awaked the scene of devastation after one of the most violent storms in the recent memory battered the city overnight. Within a few short hours, torrential downpour and hurricane-force winds transformed the sun-drenched Mediterranean cap into the landscape of chaos and destruction. According to Italy's Civil Protection Department, the storm unleashed more than 115 millimeters of rain, equivalent of 2 months of precipitation, in less than 3 hours. The city and the drainage system dating back in the 19th century was quickly overwhelmed. Cars flooded through the flooded streets, traffic lights flickered out the entire neighborhood, including Partana, Oreta and Mandela, were cut off by rising water. Local authorities described the event as one in the century deluge. Major Roberto Lagale urged residents to remain indoors and declared to municipality energy. "This is not a simple storm," he told reporters. "It is a climate disaster that has hit Palermo. It is unprecedented force." Videos circulated online captured the shocking moment when the lightning illuminated the city skyline. Italy Environmental Minister has promised to new plan to rebuild the south, including flood protection and reforestation measures to improvement the early warning system, but critical say this measure alone overdue. In Palermo, the sun broke through the grey sky, illuminating the messy aftermath in the night of Sicily will not soon forget. We use a hardship, said Maria Conte, the grandmother, whose home was flooded, but we will drive through, support each other and move on. Sicily is beginning to recover, but questions remain. Will the storm the wake-up call just another serious ignore of warnings?
It's crazy.
In the heart of the Mediterranean, the Italian island of Sicily has long been seasonally with a sun of the tempting coastline and seductive blend of the history and culture. However, this idyllic landscape is recently has been transformed into a dramatic scene of nature fury. A formidable storm marked by resilient rain and fierce winds and lashed Sicily, unveiling the vulnerable of even the most picturesque square of the region with the firms of weather. The storm onslaught was achieved with the meteorologists barely able to predict and intensify before the unleashed food and made the apex of fury. Winning our streets and town crosses across the Sicily were inundated, transformed urban center into unwelcoming, water-loaded mazes. The rain, increasing unforgiving, pointed the green portrait of the region undesigned by the elements. In Palermo, the Sicilian capital, scenes in the chaos unflooded. Ascent streets and usually burst with the life and aroma of Sicily, crash while deserted save of accessional vehicles struggling against the rising water. The iconic Trastevere, a testament of Sicily agriculture, dangerous stood with the silence within to unflooding calamity. A powerful storm system has swept across Sicily, bringing torrential rain, violent wind and widespread destruction to towns and cities across the island. The extreme weather struck overnight catched many residents of wide and living emergency service stretching to their limits. In Palermo, Messina and Catania, streets quickly turned into rivers and intense rainfall overwhelmed the drainage system. Cars were submerged, ground floors flooded the entire neighborhoods, left without power. Wind gusts exceeded 100 km per hour through the coastal area, ripping tiles from the rooftops and toppling trees onto roads and rail lines. Civil protection officials confirmed dozens of emergency rescue, including motorists trapped in the flooding underpasses and families evacuated in low-lying homes. Several schools were closed to precautions, while ferry service between Sicily and the mainland were suspended due to dangerous sea conditions. It felt like the island was undersized, said on residents in Trapani. A powerful and unexpected tornado tore through the coastal town of San Pietro in Bevanga in Italy, Puglia region, leaving behind a trail of thorns, roofs, shattered beach structures and uprooted trees. The storm system developing rapidly over the Ionian Sea on Monday afternoon as warm, humid air collided with a strong cold front moving south. Residents described the moment as the sky turned a deep gray before the funnel could touch down along the shoreline. It looked like a pillar descended from the clouds, said said Luca Romano, who witnessed the tornado forming after. With the second extreme strand toward the beach with a rotting sound, wind estimated 120 and 115 km/h, slamming into waterfront, overturned umbrellas, turning apart wooden kiosks, and pine debris across the promenade. Several beach establishments reported significant structural damage, with some buildings losing entire sections of their roofs. Flights in the Roman airports forced delays due to strong crosswinds, and while ferry service along the coast were suspended to sea turn through. Meteorologists said the storm was followed by unstable Mediterranean air, coupled with a colder system in northern Europe, creating intense thunderstorm over central Italy. Wind gusts exceeded 19 km/h were recorded in some areas, increasing the risk of structure damage. City officials urged people to stay indoors and avoid riverbanks, warning the water level along the Tiber could continue to rise. This is a dangerous situation, a civil protection spokesman said. We ask citizens to follow safety infrastructure to limit travel. As cleanup operations begin, the storm has originally concerns about the Rome against infrastructure and the vulnerability to extreme weather. Experts warn that such intense storms are becoming more frequent, posing growing changes to historic cities' underpasses to sudden climate extremes. The rain was relentless, the wind was curling, and within minutes water was everywhere. Agriculture areas have also been hit hard, with vineyards, olive groves and citrus farms suffering severe damage. Local farmers warned that the storm could result in significant economic losses during the already difficult season. Meteorologists said the storm was followed by unusually warm Mediterranean waters colliding with the cold air mass from the northern Europe, combination that created sudden intense weather events. Climate experts caution that such storms are becoming more frequent and most destructive across southern Italy. As Sicily begins the cleanup, authorities are urged caution, warning the future instability in the coming days. For many residents, this latest storm is another stark reminder that extreme weather is rationing life across the Mediterranean. This is not the first time Sicily was faced with the wrath of nature, but experts are calling this storm one of the most destructive weather events in decades. The last such disaster occurred in 2029, where deadly floods and landslides killed 37 people in Messina, but this time the combination of heavy rainfall, wind and widespread infrastructure damage made the consequences even more serious. According to preliminary government report, more than 1,200 homes were damaged, 14 roads remain closed and 7 bridges have structure damage. Insurance companies are already inundated with the claims of many families without insurance to continue on compensation from the state. This storm was particularly dangerous because it sudden. Meteorologists issued a yellow alert just hours before the first downpour. By that time, it was too late many communities to prepare. Critics are now to call into fast weather warning system to better preparedness of natural disaster, especially in the southern region, which is often overlooking. Satellite images show in a grim picture. Italy is facing a major crisis after catastrophic floods swept through the parts of the country, with Sicily and Tuscany bearing the brunt of devastation. Torrential rain over the past week was causing rivers to overflow, triggering landslides, and left entire communities underwater. The flood described as some of the worst in recent memory, have claimed lives, displaced thousands, and caused widespread damage to infrastructure and homes. In Sicily, the latest rainstorm had left widespread flooding across urban and rural area alike. In the island capital Palermo, streets have turned into rivers, with the cars submerged and many residents forced to evacuate. Catania, another major city, has also been severely affected, with widespread damage reported in a historic center. The floods have overwhelmed the drainage system, leaving emergency services struggle to keep with the demand to rescue operations. Many people have been trapped in their homes, and helicopters have been destroyed to relieve residents from isolated areas.
Assassini! Delinquenti sono! Delinquenti sono! Sono dei delinquenti! A muoversi questo tempo! Delinquenti!
Questo è un grosso problema, molto grosso.
Sicily was hit a severe storm that swept across the island overnight, causing torrential rain, storms, winds, and widespread flooding. Palermo, Catania, and several smaller towns were worst affected, with the streets turned into raging rivers, and entire neighborhoods were left without power. Residents reported panic as the water flooded historic city center. It was terrible. In a matter of minutes, the water rose above the car's doors. We had to abandon the vehicles, said Salvatore Russo, the driver from Palermo. Emergency service carried out dozens of rescue operations, including rescuers, families trapped in their homes, and motorists stuck in the underpasses. Authority temporarily closed schools and government offices in several municipalities as prediction to Sicily Civil Protection Agency declared a highest level of water alert. At least one hospital of Catania reported flooding in the lower floors, forcing staff and a relocate pedant. The storm also dealt a serious blow to agriculture, damaging olive groves, citrus, orange, and vineyards, while left to bloodborne the island economy. Farmers estimated to damage of millions of euros, further complicating the situation in a region that already struggled with the drought to binging of a year. Flights to and from Palermo to Catania airports were delayed and cancelled, and a ferry service between Sicily and mainland Italy was suspended to several hours due to rush seas. Meteorologists are linking this storm to a powerful Mediterranean cyclone, sometimes called the Medican, from the form to the warm seawater full intense weather system. Experts warn that the climate change is making such events more frequent and destructive. The president of the Sicily region promised rapid assistance to the affected communities, stressing the urgent need to strategic flood protection. This storm has once again demonstrated the vulnerability our island in us. We must do decisively to protect life and livelihood, he said. This collision swapped the powerful rotation thunderstorm known the supercell, generated giant hailstorm the hurricane-force gas. Dozens of flights were delayed at Milan Malpensa Airport and Florenza Peretola Airport, while the rail service forced major disruption. Devastating damage occurred in the rural area, vineyard in Prosecco and Chianti region suffered extensive damage, where the initial estimated protection agriculture losses exceeded 18 million euros. Farmers described the storms as brutal and unprecedented. Giulia Relangi, a vineyard owner in Lombardy, stated, "I've never seen hail with a big. In 10 minutes, my entire harvest was lost." Video shared on social media showed vehicles buried in a hail, roads resembled sky road, and the shop plow crews collecting ice with the build zones. Environmental experts warn that the climate change, while rising Mediterranean sea temperatures, are making such violent storms more frequent. This is no longer a rare phenomenon, noted the Dr. Mato Polpe, a climate scientist at the University of Florence. Warmer air holds more energy and emits too, creating ideal conditions for the formation of destructive hailstorm. As a recovery efforts continue across Italy, this storm serves as dark reminder of Europe rapidly changing weather patterns and how our sun-drenched region face relentless power of unstoppable climate. The instability created perfect conditions to the supercell formation, explained metallurgist Elena Caruso. The hailstone size of the speed formation are extraordinary for this season. Several flights to Catania, Fortenerosa Airport were delayed due to low visibility and lighting activity, while local trains between Palermo and Messina were suspended after debris covered the track. Farmers across the central Sicily have reported severe crop damage, particularly to vineyard and citrus grove. They destroyed nearly half of the harvest, said vineyard owner Salvatore Gianto. In 13 years, I never seen hail like this. Video shared on social media showed rivers and white hail racing through the streets in Palermo, while the residents used shovels to clear pathway in the after of snowstorm. Power outages were reported in the multiple municipalities, and several coastal towns experienced shocked by intense flooding. Experts warn that such extreme events are becoming increasingly common. Mediterranean regions like Sicily are highest vulnerable in the climate, experts said climatologist Dr. Paolo Leone. Tours were equally astonished. Video circulated widely on social media showing iconic landmarks surrounded by palms and hail sparking combination of northern European winter. Although the warning of potential crop damage in nearly laser farmland, particularly vineyard and olive groves. Experts note that while hailstorms are not unusual in the central Italy, an intensify of the scale and episode underline a growing volatile weather patterns linking to climate change. A cleanup operations continue. Residents are left reflecting on yet another reminder of nature forcing the city form of the history but increasingly tested by modern climate extremes. The land were deepened on the cast field destroyed it. Power outage left more than 400,000 homes in the dark. A rail service were suspended and Palermo airport was severely disrupted. Businesses and county millets is losers with tourism, agriculture and fishing particularly hard hit. Sicily famous citrus groves, olive trees and vineyards were flooded, raising fears to flood and shortage. Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni declared the flooding a national emergency, promising immediate funding to military support. We stand with the Sicily, she said. European Union official also pledged to assist with the burdens linking to the disaster and urgent need to action on climate change. Experts warn that climate change is intensifying on severe Mediterranean storms, and warning seas are contributing to more intense rainfall. Dr. Elena Rossi, a climatologist, said. What we are seeing in Sicily, a venial future is urgent action to take no taking. As the water begins to recede, thousands of people forced to painful task to rebuilding. Standing outside her destroyed homes in Palermo, Servia Rosa Ferraro said with the tears in her eyes, "The Sicilians are strong, but the storm was broken our heart." As the sun rose over the devastation streets, scenes of resilience began to emerge. Volunteers from neighboring town arrived the shovels, pumps, and food supplies. In Catania University standard formed human chain to help clear debris to home of elderly residents. Church bells rang in solidarity of many communities, helped nightly prayers to injure and displace it. One image of white Sicily flag flying proudly over the flooded town hall became a national symbol of strength. Local media called at a room and declared a state of emergency to obtain additional funds in the rescue to rapid reconstruction. Engineers are now installing bridges and roads, help workers to warn the possible communication flow to overflow, seen and standing water. Meteorologists at Weather Italia say a storm system may be weakening the residual rains and extended to continue for several more days. The ground is standing with the water. Warning climatologist Dr. Elena Ferraro even still additional rainfall could cause new floods and landslides. Environmental activists are calling this storm a wake-up call. This is not just a random error, said Lucia Marinel of Climate Italia. This is the result of decades of neglecting environmental policy of urban planning. We must change now. International support has begun to arrive at the point of offer assistance from the European Union of neighboring countries. Italian celebrities, soccer players, and Pope have been experiencing this solidarity. The Italian island of Ischia near Naples have been devastated by powerful flood and landslides triggered by relentless rainfall. Torrents of water swept through the town, tearing apart flood, burying homes, smote, and leaving residents in shock at the state of destruction. In the town of Casamicciola Terme, one of the hardest hit era, houses were engulfed by the cascading mud and debris. It was like avalanches of water and the earth cascading down, said Rosa Espana, a resident who narrowly escaped with her family. In seconds, everything we owned goes down. Authorities confirmed multiple deaths, with the several people still missing as such, and the rescue operations continue. Dozens of residents were injured, while hundreds and evacuation from the unsteppable buildings. Schools, shops, and businesses remain closed as emergency crews clear blocked streets. Emergency snow cars overturned and a half buried, with the rescue workers and volunteers dig through the layers of mud with their hands to reach surface. Power outage and damaged water supplies have left many communities isolated. The island's still terrain combined with the days of heavy rain triggered a series of landslides that shut down mountains into the coastal town. Experts noted that devastation and uncontrolled construction have worsened island's vulnerability to such disaster. Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni experienced condolences to victim families and pledged immediate aid, calling the disaster a national tragedy. Italian Civil Protection Agency has deployed helicopters, driver, and special units to assist rescue efforts, with the local authority declared a state of emergency. The flood has also remained wider concern. Each popular tourist destination known for the hot spring and bridge is now facing questions about building safety and climate resilience.